Hello, my name is Sky, and this is a message for Sean Hannity and his America, the Greatest Nation series. I just want to quote and critique some statements that were made during the video clips. Quote, "These people of divergent cultures and backgrounds that continue to transform this nation," end quote. But people are becoming anxious about that population change. Some groups are even fearing their political loss. And incidentally, after watching John Adams on HBO, whatever happened to all the Quaker businesses of the Revolution? Quote, "A nation that is more often criticized than praised," end quote. And what is wrong with criticism? Without criticism, you would not have improvement. In Stalinist Russia, to criticize was to be shot. Is that not evil? Therefore, to criticize and allow that expression is not evil, correct? Secondly, is not the Statue of Liberty a gift from France that greets visitors and immigrants? And criticism should be heeded. Without critics, movies would be bland, chefs would be lazy and not host their own TV shows, and you fail to display what I feel is a more true sense of the American spirit, the voice of challenge, the critique, the question, the ability and the validity to speak your mind to something and to let your voice be heard, regardless of your position or station. This same spirit that we Americans share with each other, maybe more at the bar than anywhere else, should be allowed and encouraged in our foreign neighbors. And then guess what? They can fly in to our land, marvel at how things really are here, and go home, and who knows, their opinion might be changed. And the U.S. economy benefits from foreign tourism. Quote, "France has failed to integrate a Muslim society, as evidenced in a riot a few years ago," end quote. The U.S. has had repeated racial and ethnic riots, marches, protests, challenges, bloodsheds, shootings, lynchings, and martyrdom since its birth. And I bet to this day some American of some background or belief or disposition is being hassled by another American because of that. And it starts in school, and teachers need to recognize that and encourage integration and assimilation. That is what will lead to a stronger economic status for all ethnic groups. Muslims in America do generally enjoy peace and prosperity in our society, because the very framework of our society is you are the individual. We, the government, make sure ourselves accessible to you, and whatever you want to buy, have at it. Even Japanese people enjoy how America allows them to be less rigid in behavior and social standing. Quote, "China, our so-called Asian rival," end quote. This is just a weird statement to have and think about. Even despite one outright war fought between the U.S. and China in Korea, and then the weird thing of how China did not aid communist Vietnam and was against the Russian communists. Also, do not forget that the U.S. gave China $1 billion at the time, worth of aid to China before America got involved in World War II, during World War II, and after World War II. And that was to the Chinese Democrats, the KMT. Incidentally, the Tiananmen Square student riots appear to have been scheduled to take place during the visit of American diplomats, and I think even President Reagan. Now even blogs of dissent can lead to arrest warrants and imprisonment. Quote, "Our Constitution guarantees freedom of religion," end quote. Have you heard about non-deist congregations and not being recognized by the government? Quote, "Including our well-intentioned liberal friends attack everything American," end quote. Well, sir, attacking everything American cannot be a bad thing. I mean, I would certainly like a little reminding every once in a while of what it means to be an American, and that is either through another country's human rights atrocities, or examinations of our history and culture, or examples where the American system failed someone or something. Because if attention is not brought to what we do as Americans, either by some other's actions or by actions we witness, or even our own, we become despondent with what we are doing and become distant from the task set before us, especially if what we do is part of what is America. Basically, if people are upset with nuclear power plants, they raise awareness. Write articles, people march, legislators get pressured, and for how many years now are there no new power plants built in the U.S.? How many Western films featuring cowboys and Indians killing each other, and in how many cases inaccurately? Do you not think it better to have a more accurate depiction of real historical events rather than stylized mythology? Is that not what critics of America do? And conservatives do this too, as I have noticed. Quote, our food is uniquely American, end quote. Our food is adaptations of various people to the resources at hand. The fact that restaurant chains develop in our society is an interesting byproduct. And like any other product and service, businesses will seek to expand their markets. Of course, places like KFC do tend to get attacked in some countries as surrogate representatives of Western and American society. Quote, due to the popularity of American movies, end quote. Something I like to keep in mind is that the U.S. has an economy that can support generating several multi-million-dollar films each year. Countries like Japan and Britain can put out a big-budget film every few years. Action and sex do not need translations, and even our own entertainment system is based on appealing to the lowest common denominator. So I'm sure a lot of material is accessible to other people despite the language barrier because there's less cerebral requirement for the entertainment. Quote, every day in local theaters, people in Europe, Asia to Africa can virtually experience bits and pieces of our diverse culture, end quote. I found it funny and interesting how one of the screenshots was from a Muslim country where there were no women in line. You can also experience American culture by living on a U.S. military base, as it has all the facets of American life in terms of market, entertainment, and structure of society. Quote, the top 5 movies are all American made, end quote, of all time. Because how much of the rest of the world has had extra spending cash and time to waste going to a movie theater that has not been bombed? Quote, when it comes to popular music, again, American artists dominate the charts, end quote. Doesn't Madonna purposely gear her music to be more accessible to a broader audience? There's a certain music, especially when you check out the MTV European Music Awards, that seems to make it across a broad spectrum, and certain artists which seem to turn up over and over again. Baseball growing in popularity? Well, FIFA apparently has more member nations than the United Nations, so we'll see how big it's going to grow. Quote, America is also willing to give millions of dollars to people around the world that are in need, end quote. And we even have the Mormon Church that can give substantial amounts of recovery aid too. But we unfortunately also have a habit of foreign military influence and interference. There's one U.S. general who, when he retired, remarked to reporters that he had spent more time as a shill for the United Fruit Company in Latin America than being a patriotic soldier. Actually, well, in fighting America's enemies is a real quote. And you talk about American charity by other countries. Why not mention how much aid has been offered and given to the U.S. during Hurricane Katrina, 9/11, and other disasters? In response to all of what was said in your video, Mr. Hannity, I would like to say this. Come live in the Imperial Valley for a year. Then make that same statement about the United States being the best country on the face of this earth. I'm not going to say you will find evidence either supporting or denying what you are stating, nor do I wish to try to dissuade you from your claim. But I would like to suggest living here, in this unique place, for 1 year, and then making the same judgment. In fact, the Imperial Valley is near Los Angeles and San Diego, so you can broadcast a show from the valley each weekday, and each night or weekend, go wherever you want. But I think meeting the local people, seeing the issues that we face and live with, and coming to know the Americans that I know down here, I'm curious how your perception of the United States will change. Sir, thank you.